welcome to another episode of TikTok. Dear audience, security situation in Afghanistan is rapidly deteriorating. Afghan government as well as Taliban has launched respective offensive to capture and to hold territory in order to increase leverage in future negotiation. Moreover, spoilers are exploiting the security turmoil to derail any possibility of peace process. The unconditional US withdrawal by September 11 has put Afghanistan into an endless cycle of war, which is likely to have a reservation for entire region. To talk on future of Afghan peace process, we today have with us Ms. Aneela Shahzad. Ms. Aneela Shahzad is an author, an editor, and a geostrategic analyst. She remained affiliated with a number of think tanks and research institutes. She is also a regular contributor to Express Tribune and Daily Pakistan. A very warm welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Ma'am, I would like to start by asking a question that how is Afghan peace process progressing currently, and do you see any potential in intra-Afghan dialogue in helping to end the Afghan conflict?
Yeah. Well, about the peace process, I think as far as the US is concerned, it has literally abandoned the Afghan peace process, because when it said that it's going to leave unconditionally and the withdrawal has even started. So the question that comes in my mind is that, because this thing really gives pain to us, that why the US came to Afghanistan in the first place if it did not have any ability to set the country on the right track. So this depicts, in my view, a complete failure of US policy and their very irresponsible behavior towards the community of nations and their strategic incapacity. And now that we see that the US has practically left the scene, it remains between Pakistan, Russia, China, and Turkey to facilitate the peace process now. And I think that they're going to do a good job in that. And as far as the intra-Afghan dialogue that you asked about, I think, of course, it is vital, because the Taliban can be the fiercest fighters, but all the other factions in Kabul, and especially the Kabul regime, they can also persist in a battle as long as they want to. So in the end, what Kabul and Taliban both will have to understand is that the only way forward is to form a participatory government, a government where there is proportionate sharing of power, because the people of Afghanistan have suffered so much already. And the sooner there is peace between the factions, and because unless there is peace and stability, the people of Afghanistan will not be able to harvest the fruits of their wealth and their potentials.
Ma'am, what are the major impediments in Afghan peace process?
Well, one thing that I feel is, which is creating more confusion rather than ease, is again the US effort to detrack the peace process, because when Joe Biden came to power, the first thing he said was that they are going to need a moonshot to resolve the Afghan issue, and they said that they are going to relocate the peace process in the UN and in Turkey in the Istanbul summit. So the Taliban have been jittery about these suggestions from the beginning. And just one day ago, I think Taliban spokesman said that although they are ready to go to the Istanbul summit, but they would want the conclusive sessions of the peace process to be held in Doha, because they're comfortable over there. And it was all going in a smooth way, and it should have been going like that. So the other impediment, of course, is the strong-headedness of the Kabul and regime and both the Taliban. So what any one of us would not want to see is the country spiraling again into another period of chaos and bloodshed. So what Pakistan, Russia, China, Iran, and any other regional entity would be wanting and should be doing is to try to bring all the Afghan parties to upon a sustainable, progressive model, and it should not be any quote unquote extremist model, because extremism is again going to impede progress inside Afghanistan. But having said that, we should also keep this in mind that the Taliban cannot be labeled as one extremist fundamentalist entity, and on the other hand, the Kabul regime or the other factions cannot be said to be just like anti-Islam or like anti-tradition, because all Afghan parties, all Afghan faction hold these certain shared values. And it is the work of the peace facilitators also to bring them all these factions upon those shared values, because without resolving this ideological conflict between them, there is less chance of peace.
Ma'am, how will unconditional US withdrawal affect the strategic and political landscape of Afghanistan?
The US's unconditional withdrawal from Afghanistan does not only change the political landscape of Afghanistan, it like completely changes the geopolitical scenario and the regional scenario. And we can also compare this withdrawal from Afghanistan to US withdrawal from Syria and even from Libya. And what happens with this whole movement is that the unilateral strategy is being seen as a failure, and regionalism, regional powers, and multipolarism, this is being strengthened. So this is the new geopolitical scenario of the region. But US going unconditionally from Afghanistan will also do another thing. It will create a vacuum, and whenever there is a vacuum, there is uncertainty, and there is this chance that the Afghans might make the wrong choices. And when the US is leaving, nobody would want that the Afghanistan would fall from one power pocket into another power pocket, or make choices Russia or China to allow to assert their unilateral interests in the country. So what we would want, what all regional entities should want, is that there should be a balanced, pragmatic foreign policy in Afghanistan, and a policy that should ensure the progress of the people and ensure the sovereignty of the Afghans upon their own matters.
Ma'am, how will spoilers benefit from the current round of fighting between Afghan government and between Taliban?
Well, if you're referring to foreign terrorist entities like Daesh, I think Pakistan Army spokesperson said as early as in January, he said that there are Daesh footprints all over in Afghanistan, and he also said specifically that the Indian intelligence agency RAW is supporting these entities. But at the same time, as the months have passed, we are seeing that the Daesh have been made to decrease their activities in Afghanistan, and the Afghan government is also claiming that they have imprisoned and captured a lot of Daesh members. So even as this is happening, any future government in Afghanistan has to be very, very vigilant upon this thing, that resurgency of this foreign elements should not happen in their soil, because they are going to research with any chance they get. But there's also a new trend of spoiling that you were asking. In Afghanistan, we're seeing that there are some rifts being seen because of internal dissatisfaction, because of infighting, and because of clashes between the interest of different parties. These parties who have been accustomed to the rule of a jungle law in Afghanistan for the past 4 decades, now it is going to be really difficult to bring them into a law and order situation. So, for instance, I would say that in Faryab, in this last week, ex-General Dostum, his party, he did not allow the government appointed governor to enter Fayyab. And in fact, they did not allow his plane to land in the province. So this type of new spoiling is something I think we're going to be seeing in the near future. Yes.
Ma'am, what role can Pakistan play in ending Afghan conflict, and what will be the consequences of Pakistan for Pakistan if Afghanistan plunges into civil war?
Well, I think that if Pakistan has been so elementary in like aiding the Afghans in their wars in Russia against Russia, like after all, we were the conduit through which aid and funds and like weapons were provided to different Mujahideen factions in the Russian-Afghan war. And after the Russians left and the US have come for the last 20 years, Pakistan has been standing behind different Mujahideen factions, and especially behind the Taliban, which Pakistan thinks that they are fighting a genuine freedom war against the occupying forces. So if Pakistan has this history, then I think Pakistan is in a position to talk to the Taliban and to talk them into a sustainable and a progressive and a democratic model and ensure and make them come upon this thing that it is ensured that undue foreign interventions that have been such a norm for Afghanistan should be barred once and for all for good. So because if Afghanistan plunges into another civil war, does that benefit Pakistan? Of course, that does not benefit anyone in the region, and it does not benefit Pakistan. What benefits us is a strong, a free, and a stable Afghanistan, which is ready to do trade, which is ready to progress, which is ready to grow, so that when it's going to grow, everybody is going to grow with them. So definitely, Pakistan will try its utmost for there not to be any civil war in Afghanistan.
Ma'am, how do China, Russia, and Iran view this Afghan conflict, and what role can they play to end this conflict?
If I'm right, I think all regional entities have learned their lesson from these two devastating wars that the Afghans have been going through in the last 4 decades. And the lesson that has been learned is that you cannot like unilaterally go inside another country just with brute force and then think or ensure that your interests are going to be fulfilled. That is the failed strategic model. So what we have seen is that China and Russia, they have allied their foreign policies, because before these two wars, they used to have political rifts and ideological differences between them. But now they have learned, I think, that by allying their foreign policies and by setting mutual goals, they can really progress in the region. And so Russia has allowed China to make their Belt and Road projects inside Russia. They have allowed them to pass through Russia to enter into Europe with their Belt and Road projects. And in the same way, we also see that Iran has maybe learned some lessons, and because it has also abandoned its confrontational policies with Pakistan, and we can see a future now where Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran might be doing mutual or multilateral or bilateral projects. And we can also see maybe China, Afghanistan, Pakistan corridor being developed, or a China, Afghanistan, Iran corridor being developed, which all of these are going to be mutually beneficial for all of us. And that long dream of being able to reach the Central Asian nation, that is also going to be possible only when there is a stable, peaceful, and prosperous Afghanistan in the middle of this whole region. So I think if all of us have learned from the Afghan war, then China, Russia, Iran, all would want a peaceful solution of Afghanistan, and we would want Afghanistan to come on the right track as soon as possible, so that trade and prosperity, they can become the new norms of the region. Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Maryam.